Welcome to the Phoenix Project. My name is Jennifer, and I'm your host. In episode 1, I told you what happened. In episode 2, I want to talk about how it happened. Because what happened to me didn't begin with violence, it began with validation. Before I go further, I want to say something clearly. This podcast is not anti-sex work. It is anti-coercion. It is anti-manipulation. It is anti-exploitation. There is a difference, and nuance matters. When I met Mr. Charming, he's what's called a Romeo pimp, and naming that matters. A Romeo pimp doesn't lead with threats. He leads with attention, with mirroring, with emotional precision. He studies you. He reflects your wounds back to you and then positions himself as the solution. He made me feel chosen, elevated, special. He mirrored my wounds back to me. He built me up in the exact places that I felt broken. If I doubted myself, he reassured me. If I felt invisible, he amplified me. If I felt unstable, he offered structure. He reframed control as spirituality, spending hours manipulating scripture, convincing me that obedience was sacred, that surrender was alignment, that resistance meant ego. He didn't present hierarchy as domination. He presented it as mentorship, as protection, as leadership. And because I didn't trust myself, I trusted him. But know this: coercive control can happen in any relationship, romantic, spiritual, professional, financial. It does not require trafficking. It does not require sex work. It requires imbalance, dependency, isolation, and the gradual erosion of self-trust. For 4 years, I followed his instructions blindly, traveling from city to city, hotel room to hotel room, all over the country. He and his bottom woman ran a legitimate business, and I became director of sales. On paper, everything looked structured, professional, ambitious. But the reality underneath that structure was different. I was the one taking the risk. I was the one walking into hotel rooms with strangers. And the financial control didn't belong to me. The money flowed upward. That was the expectation. No discussion, no negotiation. Walking into hotel rooms became routine, but routine does not mean safe. There was always a moment of high anxiety before I knocked, scanning everything around me for danger. Exits, mirrors, energy, tone. Hypervigilance became a skill. I never knew who or what was going to walk through that door. A predator, an undercover cop, someone kind, someone unstable. That anxiety was real every single time. And after a while, I became numb to it, not because it wasn't dangerous, but because my nervous system adapted. I downplayed it in my head. This is fine. You've done this before. You're in control. When you repeat something enough times without immediate catastrophe, your brain starts calling it normal, even when it isn't. And I learned to dissociate. For those unfamiliar with that term, dissociation is a trauma response. It's when your mind separates from your body to protect you. You are physically present, but emotionally distant. I became an actress. Costume, check. Hair, check. Makeup, check. The hotel room door was the curtain. And the person walking through that door wasn't really me anymore. Play the part, take a bow, leave. I made it transactional in my mind. A service, a performance, a job, not intimacy. That reframing made it survivable until it didn't. Eventually, my instability caught up with me. You can dissociate for a while. You can compartmentalize. You can intellectualize. But your nervous system keeps score. The mania escalated. The crashes deepened. The impulsivity intensified. And the shame afterward became unbearable. I was unraveling again. And this time I knew it. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just honest. I was not well. So I checked myself into a psychiatric hospital. Not because someone forced me, but because I finally understood that if I didn't intervene, I might lose myself entirely. That hospitalization marked the beginning of the end of my relationship with Mr. Charming. I just couldn't be what he wanted me to be anymore. And I didn't want to be that version of myself either. I tried returning to a quote normal life, but I was still chasing, still financially struggling. So I resurrected the persona he helped me create. I could do this on my own. I didn't need him. Before what came next, there was a sugar daddy. He financed my move back to Las Vegas, paid my bills, sent money for expenses, promised stability. But when my instability surfaced, he ended it abruptly. I panicked. I cried. I screamed. Why did I let myself depend on someone so quickly? Just weeks after moving back, I received a call. The call that would change my life in ways that I'm still healing from today. From the man I now call the manager. On the phone, he didn't present himself as a trafficker. He presented himself as an asset. He spoke about building business, trade lines, LLCs, credit structuring, scaling income. He sent pictures of luxury cars that he supposedly owned. He talked about passive income, leverage, expansion. When you are financially unstable, when you've moved repeatedly, when you're trying to rebuild. Someone who sounds financially literate feels powerful. They feel established. They feel ahead of you. So I agreed to meet him. And when he arrived at my home, the energy shifted immediately, subtly at first, but unmistakably. No spiritual language, no illusion of partnership. This was control without disguise. He showered, instructed me to dry him off. He ordered me around in my own home. Then he sat on my couch, turned on my television, and played a video. It was his America's Most Wanted capture, narrated by John Walsh. He had trafficked a woman. He looked at me and said, "You have no idea who I am, do you?" The illusion shattered. The next day, he introduced me to the first woman. We bonded quickly. There's a certain intimacy that forms when two women realize they are navigating the same storm. It's not glamorous. It's raw. It's unfiltered. We shared stories, laughter, tears, late nights, and long stretches of shared silence on the road. I was relieved not to be alone on the road anymore. We became sisters. Then I witnessed something I will never forget. He choked her on the bed in front of me. She tried to smile, tried to act like she was fine, but I could see her struggling to breathe. I could see humiliation in her eyes. And I didn't intervene, not because I didn't care, but because fear changes your calculus. In that moment, my brain wasn't thinking about justice. It was thinking about survival. I understood something without him needing to say it. I knew my place, and I knew that stepping outside of it could have consequences. Refusal felt dangerous. Soon after, he involved us in illegal activity that put us at serious risk. When refusal feels dangerous, compliance feels like survival. He controlled the finances tightly. He wanted to know exactly how much was coming in. He decided what we were allowed to keep, just enough for food, gas, and a room to sleep in before doing it all again the next day. Why didn't I lie? Because I wasn't alone. She was with me, and I didn't trust yet that he wouldn't find out. He planted seeds of suspicion between us. He engineered friction. Looking back now, I understand the psychology of what he was doing. If two women trust each other, they compare notes, they question authority, they leave together. But if they're suspicious of each other, if they're fighting, they stay divided. Division keeps people controllable. There was so much tension between us. Hurt feelings, misunderstandings, drama that felt real in the moment. We were ordered to meet with him. There was a lecture. Then he separated us. My sister was gone. Part of me felt relief that the tension would stop, but another part of me grieved the bond we had built. The laughter, the secrets, the deep conversations you only have with someone who understands exactly what you're going through. Isolation is strategic because when you are alone, you are easier to control. The next morning, he put the second woman with me, fresh out of rehab, scattered, wild, unstable. She called him Pop, like a father figure. He had spent a week shaping her mind before sending her out. He wanted me to mentor her, teach her the business, photograph her, help her market herself. And so we hit the road. Over time, she began to stabilize. We had our ups and downs, but underneath it all, I wanted to protect her. But you can't save someone from themselves. Then came the Love's truck stop, the back roads of Alabama, broad daylight, no money, barely enough gas, no support from him either. We had already resolved we might be sleeping in the car that night, and in that parking lot, we finally spoke honestly. When I told her about the illegal activity, she was furious. Apparently, he had promised her he was no longer involved in any of that. That was the crack. That's when we started planning. We agreed we needed to get out. That was our no matter what moment. No matter what, we would stick together. No matter what, we would do whatever we needed to do to stay alive. Later, we tattooed those words on our bodies. When I look back now, what surprises me most isn't that manipulation happened. It's how quietly it happened. There was no dramatic moment where everything suddenly became obvious. It happened slowly before it escalated. My car was taken, used for illegal activity. I was told to pack up all of my belongings, and they were placed in a storage unit under his name in another state. Even my service dog, the one tether I had to normalcy, was sent to a sitter. For a while, I believed I might never get her back. My life had been reduced to a suitcase. That's how coercive control works. It doesn't usually arrive as violence first. It arrives as guidance, as mentorship, as someone who seems to understand you. And by the time the control becomes visible, you're already inside of it. Your thinking changes. You begin making decisions based on survival, not freedom. But awareness changes everything. Because once you can name what happened, it stops having the same power over you. You begin to understand the patterns, the manipulation, the survival decisions you made inside an environment that wasn't safe. And when you understand those things, something shifts. Shame begins to loosen its grip. Not overnight, not perfectly, but slowly. Awareness becomes the first step toward rebuilding, toward reclaiming your voice, toward writing a different ending to the story. Listen to the whisper, because awareness is the beginning of freedom, and that's where we turn pain into purpose. If you are in crisis and need support in the United States, you can call or text 988 to the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. If you believe you may be experiencing coercion or trafficking, call 1-888 373 7888, or you can text help or info to 233 733. If you'd like to connect or collaborate or share your whisper moment, you can email me at phoenixprojectvoices@gmail.com. Please note I'm not able to provide counseling or one-on-one support, but I deeply appreciate thoughtful messages and connection. This is the Phoenix Project.